When kindness turns against you, it starts small. You say yes, you help, you stay a little longer, you give a little more. And they smile, they thank you, they promise they'll return the favor, but the favor never comes. The ask grows, the weight multiplies, and one day, you look around and realize you're exhausted. Not from doing too much, from giving to people who never intended to give back. They call you kind, but what they really mean is compliant. They say you have a big heart, but what they really mean is you don't say no. They admire your patience, but what they really mean is you're easy to take. And slowly the kindness that once lit rooms becomes the very thing that burns you down. This is not weakness, this is a pattern, one that Marcus Aurelius saw clearly. Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself, not the other way around. Kindness was never meant to be a cage, but if you're not careful, they'll build one for you out of your own generosity, and the door, you left it open. Kindness, weakness. You can be kind and still say no. You can be generous and still have limits. You can be soft-spoken and still be a wall. No one pushes through. The Stoics were not cruel, they were clear. They didn't raise their voice, they raised their standards. They didn't please everyone, they protected their energy. And when someone called them distant, they didn't flinch. Because boundaries are not rude, they're responsible. So if they say, "You've changed," you have. From overextended to aligned, from compliant to conscious. And that shift, it's not selfish, it's the beginning of self-respect. Fire can't warm everyone. They say you're the warm one, the kind one, the always there one. But warmth has a cost, because every fire burns fuel. And you've been burning yourself. Saying yes when you meant no. Showing up when you needed rest. Giving time to people who drain it. At first, it feels noble, selfless, strong. But then comes the crack. You cancel your needs, you silence your no, you shrink so others can feel big, and eventually, you disappear from your own life. There's a story Marcus Aurelius never wrote, but lived. Two men tending the same fire. One feeds it slowly, patient, measured. The other throws in everything, shirts, shoes, his own skin, just to keep everyone else warm. Guess who lasts longer? Kindness doesn't mean self-destruction. Compassion doesn't mean martyrdom. If your fire goes out, you save no one. Not them, not yourself. So the next time they ask for more, check the fuel. Because if you burn past your limit to comfort people who never notice the smoke, you weren't being kind. You were being consumed. Kindness isn't a contract. You gave, you listened, you stayed up late, you bent so they wouldn't break, and deep down, you thought they'd do the same. But they won't, and they didn't. Not because they're cruel, but because you never said, "This costs me something." You assumed they knew. They assumed it was free. Kindness by nature doesn't come with an invoice. But somewhere inside, you still expected a receipt. So when the favor didn't return, when the help wasn't mutual, when the silence followed your sacrifice, it broke something. Not in them, in you. Because now your kindness feels dangerous, like a door you shouldn't open. Like something people take. But that pain, it's not from giving, it's from expecting. The Stoics understood this. Give freely, expect nothing. If it returns, good. If it doesn't, you're still whole. Your worth isn't measured by how others repay you, it's measured by how clearly you choose to give. So next time, give because it's right. Not because it guarantees a circle. This isn't a contract, it's a gift. And if they drop it, don't drop yourself. Let them lose your kindness. You don't have to lose your peace. Every ask isn't a yes. They'll keep asking because you keep saying yes. At first it's small, a favor, a ride, a little extra. Then it grows. More time, more energy, more of you. Given without hesitation, you become the solution, the fallback, the one they rely on. Because you never push back. But the truth is, every yes you say to them is a no you whisper to yourself. No to rest, no to space, no to the version of you that doesn't want to carry it all. There's a story they never tell. A kind person who said yes so often they forgot what they needed. Until one day, They didn't recognize their own voice under the weight of everyone else's. The Stoics weren't selfish, they were selective. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it's not essential, don't do it." Not because it's mean, but because your time is sacred. You don't owe access to everyone who asks. And kindness that destroys you was never kindness. It was compliance in disguise. So next time they ask, pause. Ask yourself, does this come from love or from fear of being unloved? If I say no, say no. Say it once. Say it with grace. Say it like someone who's finally protecting their capacity. You're not a resource, you're a human being, and boundaries are how you stay one. Weakness is a signal. At first, they admire you. They say you're kind, patient, selfless. But slowly, admiration fades and expectation grows. You forgive quickly, so they push harder. You never complain, so they take more. You always say yes, so they stop asking, and now you're not the kind one. You're the one they don't fear losing. Because kindness repeated too often, without boundary, stops looking like strength. It starts looking like weakness. And weakness in human behavior is a signal. It tells them you won't leave, you won't fight back, you won't demand better. The Stoics knew this. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate silently, not because you're weak, but because you wanted peace more than self-respect. But peace bought with self-erasure isn't peace, it's quiet submission. So if they treat you like background noise, it's because you've dimmed yourself to keep them comfortable. And if they walk over you, it's because you kept laying down. You don't need to become cruel, just clear. Let your boundaries speak before you burn. Let your silence end before they forget you matter. Kindness was never the problem. Being unguarded was. And there's nothing kind about letting them treat you like less than you are. The power of no. No is not anger, it's clarity. No is not rejection, it's protection. No is not cold, it's clean. Most people don't say no because they fear what comes after. Disappointment, distance, disapproval. But the Stoic doesn't fear response. He fears regret. He knows a yes said too fast becomes a debt you pay in silence. So he chooses no when his energy is low, when the ask crosses the line, when the yes would betray his center. No is a boundary that doesn't need a reason. It can be soft, it can be still, but it must be said. Because every time you say yes, when your soul means no, you abandon yourself to be accepted. And every time you do it, they learn. You'll bend, you'll break, you'll stay. But when you say no, for the first time, everything shifts. They pause, they adjust, they listen, because suddenly you're not a resource, you're a person. One with edges, limits, fire. And that fire doesn't burn them, it protects you. Track your energy. Not every tiredness comes from effort. Some come from leakage, from the slow, silent drain of being too available to the wrong people at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. And by the end of the day, you're not just tired, you're empty. The Stoics tracked their days, not by what they accomplished, but by what they lost. Where did my attention go? Who did I listen to that didn't deserve my ears? What emotion did I carry that wasn't even mine? This is the practice. Energy audit. Notice who leaves you heavier. Notice who always brings fire but never brings water. Notice when the smile fades, not because you're unkind, but because something is taking without giving. Kindness isn't about saying yes, it's about knowing where your yes still has value. And if you can't feel yourself after you gave too much. So before you act, check your capacity. Before you agree, check your reserves. And at the end of the day, ask one simple question. Did what I gave match what I had? If the answer is no, it's not them you need to blame. It's a boundary you need to rebuild. Treat yourself as worthy. They won't treat you better until you do. They won't respect your limits if you don't name them. They won't value your time if you keep giving it away like it's worthless. The Stoic never begged for worth, he embodied it. He walked like his time mattered. He spoke like his silence had weight. He gave, but never to prove himself. Because when you see yourself as worthy, you stop performing, you stop pleasing, You stop apologizing for being whole. And when you stop apologizing, they stop expecting. Kindness doesn't mean you put everyone else first. It means you recognize that your peace is just as sacred as theirs. So start showing up like someone worth protecting. Guard your attention, guard your energy, guard your inner stillness, like it's the last clear place in a noisy world. You don't need permission, you need a posture. One that says, this version of me is not up for negotiation. And when you hold that, the world adjusts, not because you shouted, but because you finally walked like someone who won't be moved. Know who drains you. Some people don't take your energy, they drain it. Slow, quiet, constant. Not because they're evil, but because they've learned. You'll always say yes to their chaos, to their crisis, to their comfort, at the cost of your calm. The Stoics weren't heartless, they were selective. Epictetus said, avoid what does not serve your purpose. Not out of hate, out of honor. You don't have to cut them off with fire. You can fade, you can shift, you can protect your radius without announcing your departure. Because the truth is, some people only understand kindness when it's convenient. But kindness without direction becomes exhaustion. So audit your circle. Not just who's loud, but who's loyal. Not just who's present, but who's peaceful. Some people restore your spirit by just being near. Others strip it without saying a word. Know the difference and act on it. Not out of resentment, but out of rhythm. Your life isn't a rescue mission, it's a pilgrimage, and not everyone is meant to make the full journey with you. Boundaries aren't rude, they're respect. They might call you distant. Let them. They might say you've changed, you have. They might not like the version of you that finally draws the line. That's okay. You weren't made to be liked. You were made to live aligned. The Stoics didn't run from guilt, they faced it. Watched it, let it dissolve under the weight of something: clarity, character, center. You don't have to become hard. You just have to stop bending. You don't have to become cold, you just have to stop burning. The kindness they want from you is real, but the version that kills you to give is not. So choose a different one, a quieter one, a stronger one. Kindness with boundaries, compassion with clarity. Love that doesn't leak from a place of self-erasure. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince. You just need to walk away from anything that costs you your peace in the name of being good. Because goodness without grounding is just surrender. And the Stoic doesn't surrender. He stands.